Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We were talking with Victor White. He's with the Southeastern Carpenters Union. We're talking about the construction workers behind Nashville's building boom. How are they paid? What are the conditions they are working in? And what Victor White is talking about is essentially wage theft, and what is a widespread thing that is happening now in Nashville and really all across the South. I have a lot of calls, and so we're just going to try and get through the calls. Let's start with Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Hey, Mr. White, thank you for coming on. This is a big issue with me. People think that what you're talking about does not affect their pocketbook at home. They're fooling themselves. I was listening to the news this afternoon, and they're renegotiating the NAFTA treaty, and they do not want to address labor in Mexico. They want labor left alone where they can pay anything they want to. And people are complaining about jobs going off. You have to have a fair wage in Mexico so that your jobs will stay here. Likewise, you guys are a carpenters union. I called y'all about 10, 11 years ago when I was getting bids on some work to ask you what the carpenter's rate was. At that time, you told me it was $25 an hour. I had taken some bid and asked these guys their experience. They wanted $50 an hour, and they had no training in the carpenters union. And when I finally had to take one of them, there were undercuts, overcuts, scary nailing, all kinds of stuff going on, but I was stuck. And they turned a 6-hour job into 3 days, and I was stuck. They had me at their bay. But when you look at what they're doing to the immigrants, if people think that this is not translating into other construction work here, if you're a homeowner, they're doing it to homeowners too. They're trying to get you to float their labor by a way overbidding job and wanting you the high percentage of money up front, and then they take off with your money. But I have sat in the McDonald's watching men wait on their wives working at McDonald's, and they're relying on their McDonald's wife's McDonald's salary, and these are American white males, because they have not been paid in 4 months because the contractor they're working for, and it's just not nailing nails, just putting up power poles or something, said that they're not going to get paid until the end of the contract. And I'm like, oh no, that's not right. These people are living in their cars. They are living in back of campers at campsites and stuff. So they have turned what is a trade, what is a craft, a skill that's to be passed on so your house doesn't fall down, into a junk, a highway robbery kind of thing. And like you said, they'll sit there and bid you $50 an hour, and they'll pay them $5. So thank you for listening, and go Union.
Hey, thank you so much.
So Lucy has a lot to say there. All right, what do you think? What do you think of what she said?
Well, I agree with her. There is a lot of labor brokers have a lot of unskilled craft a lot of times. That's why I would like to recruit them. We bring them in, we train them. We've got state-of-the-art training in the whole country. Nobody trains more than UBC does, United Brotherhood of Carpenters. And we give people more than just a trade and a career. We actually give them a life. And what the lady's talking about there too, you know, when you pay people substandard wages, and they're certainly not paying any type of family health insurance, they're not paying any type of supplemental pension funds to go with Social Security. And you know, trying to live on just Social Security check alone is pretty scary. And they say, well, save money out of your check. Well, when you're paid substandard wages, you're living week to week. You don't have anything to save. And I always tell everybody, I say, look, would you have your children, would you tell them to go over here and hire in with one of these labor brokers where there's no health insurance, no workers' comp, where there's no pension benefits whatsoever, and get a substandard wage? And then the safety violation, a lot of safety violations too. You would never tell your child that. So why would you tell your neighbor that just because he's an undocumented worker?
Yet every one of those things you just said is against the law.
Yes,
every one
sir.
of those things should be happening. And so it seems that there is no will on the part of the people that make the laws to hold contractors accountable.
Correct.
If we all know this is happening, because it seems like they've made a calculation that there is a benefit to the cheap labor. And what Lucy is saying and what you're saying is that that doesn't help everybody else. Maybe it helps some people that are making a lot of money.
It doesn't resonate through the community, because when you're running a mobile workforce, that money leaves and goes back to Atlanta or back to Florida. Some of it goes back possibly to Central America, Mexico, because a lot of these immigrants have family. They've come here to try to better themselves and help their families back home. The money doesn't resonate through our community, so our small businesses suffer. Everything suffers. So why not just be fair, be correct, be compliant, just operate under the law, and everything goes a whole lot smoother. But it's all about bottom line and greed.
Let's go to Jerry. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing fine. What's on your mind?
Merry Christmas. I've got a lot of comments real quick if I can make them. I appreciate about the subject of what you guys are talking about. I've been a painting contractor for well over 40 years. I consider myself a highly skilled trade professional here in America. I live in the RV park for the last 8 years. I live up in Sumner County. I have painted some of the finest homes in the county and have I would guess a stellar reputation. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I grew up around a lot of Hispanic young people, and I love those people. I have nothing but respect for any man that's out trying to better himself and feed his family. I understand the desperation they're going through. Having said all that, as far as what's going on today, I will tell you, real matter of fact, as far as the painting trade goes, I personally have not been able to walk on a new job site in the last, I would say, very close to 30 years. And give an honest bid and expect to get the job. I realize the focus is very topical on the growth of Nashville at the moment. But having said that, we all know what's happened with the building boom in America. You know, we laughingly started calling them McMansions, then they turned into mansions, and then they turned on into what literally are palaces. The bottom line is, you know, he with the most gold makes the money. The old joke is that the Democrats want them here for their votes, and the Republicans want them here for their cheap labor, and they are getting exploited. They're some of the finest people on God's earth, and my heart is with them. But having said that, my heart is also as a patriot of this country. I will tell you, my life has been devastated by the greed that has exploited their labor and brought them here. You know, we all get up in arms when you talk about a drug cartel in Mexico, but the reality is there's a much bigger market. It's called the labor cartel. It's easy to think, well, it's just some young man wanting to cross the border to feed his family. The truth of the matter is they've been brought up here with contracts. Their own families are held hostages down there. I've worked on enough job sites around these people to see the desperation in their faces and know how they've been worked like slaves and like dogs. And it's just unsettling. You know, the whole thing that's going on, it is about money. It's about greed, obviously. I appreciate the man you're there with and his heart, but having said all that, guys, you know, there's a thing called E-Verify. I realize you're exactly right. This country would just be really we would hit a wall at 90 miles an hour if all of a sudden they were gone. But having said that, there's this thing called E-Verify, I think that is the term. We need work visas, and we need to have that worked on very,
Yes.
very rapidly. And we need those work visas to be focused, you know, made public. We need those work, and they need their own labor union. They need to have benefits. They need to have everything a hard-working man deserves.
All right, let's talk about that. There is a thing called E-Verify, and that's a state law. That's passed through the legislature. I believe that every business is supposed to check and make sure that the documentation is there and that they're hiring documented people. You know, what is happening there?
We got that passed back around 12 or 13, I guess, Ben. It really has no teeth in it, and it's never been enforced that I'm aware of. And if you get caught cheating, you get a $50 fine. So, you know, that's not very much incentive to worry about e-verifying. Also, most folks just don't e-verify, these labor brokers. And the gentleman there's right. A lot of this stuff has cartel links with the labor brokers, the regional financer, and various things like that. So they just have the labor brokers are like wolves. They have no regard for the law whatsoever. On the other side of the fence, there's not vigorous enforcement of the law. There's not even lethargic enforcement of the law. So to my knowledge, on construction sites, I've never seen anybody that I'm aware of fined under the e-verify law. And if they are fined, it's $50 per undocumented worker. So,
and what we've seen, I mean, I was
that's just
talking
cost of doing business.
Right. So you're saying it's cost of business, not really enforced. What we've seen in 2019 on this show is one of the toughest topics has been immigration. There have been some very tough shows this year with immigration, and it's reflective of what's happening across the state and the country. It's a very difficult topic, very divisive topic, and it seems like when you see this, you that last caller, Jerry, could easily be upset with people he feels are responsible for him not getting jobs or being underbid. I mean, you're saying it may be bigger than that. Yeah, it's the companies that allow this to happen, that actually want this to happen, that want that cheap labor.
Yeah, Gary was absolutely right, and it's not the workers that's knocking us out of the bid that are being exploited. It's the contractor, the labor broker, that's exploiting them. That's who's knocking you out of the bid. And the way they do, they come in and they charge so much an hour for labor. They don't sign a contract like a subcontractor. A subcontractor says, I'll do this job for, say, $3 million. $3 million package. I'll do it for that. And then he goes to the labor brokers and they say, I'll supply you men, and for each man I supply you, I'll have to have $26 an hour. He in turn will pay 19 to 20, put back a little bit to lodge them, and when you're putting 8 or 9 people in a camping trailer or a small apartment or something, it doesn't cost that much per day to lodge them. And then the rest of it, the pure profit. His only product is having those guys on the job.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's not purchasing material. The original subcontractor, you know, takes care of all that. All the labor broker does is supply men and women to work.
All right, we have a lot of calls. Hold on the line. We'll take a break, then we'll come back, take more calls. Be back right after this.